Thanks for coming back. Last week, we talked about immigration and how to fix it. This week, let's talk about taxes. Now, here's the thing. I don't like to pay taxes. You don't like to pay taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes. But they're necessary. You want a strong military, it's got to get paid for somehow. You want police, you want infrastructure, you got to pay for that stuff. So there's going to have to be some level of taxation. The amazing thing is, for the 2009 tax year, the average American, 98% of us, paid less in taxes than any time in the last 50 years. We're not paying all that much. That's not to say I like paying what I'm paying. But I think we have to separate the issue here. Is our tax money being spent properly? Now, we can debate all day long as to what proper spending is. But frankly, there's only one way you're going to cut taxes effectively. And that is, forget about taxes for a while. I don't mean stop taking taxes. I mean what you're going to have to do is go through every government department, line by line, figure out first what they're supposed to do. Why is that department there? Second, cut back everything in that department until it's just doing what it's supposed to do. And figure out how much that costs. Keep doing that for every public department, right on down the line. And what you're going to come up with is a number, whatever that number is. That number is what tax revenue we have to achieve. Whatever that number is, we have to be able to pay for that. And then make it straight across the board. You'll hear it referred to as flat tax. I think I may actually be simpler than the flat tax, but whatever it is, if it takes a 12% tax rate to pay everything once we've cut them back, if it takes 25%, if it takes 40%, we've determined that we need that department. This is the most efficient it can run. That's how much it costs. Now you're down to, do you need that service anymore? Now you can talk about it. But the biggest problem with taxes right now is that that money is not well spent. People are employed by the government in redundant positions, inefficient positions. Government can be inherently inefficient. So what we need to do is go into each department like a business. For example, the Department of Education. It's got its fingers in a lot of things right now. But while some will say the Department of Education should be eliminated, I don't agree. Department of Education is a prime example of a department that needs to exist, but needs to have a whole new way of looking at how it does business. What should it do? Well, it should set standards for the nation. So that if you go to school in one state, the requirements to graduate are the same in another state. That our education is seamless. They should do that by giving information and research assistance, planning. They should help individual state education boards get to where they need to be and get their students where they need to be. So there is a purpose for the Department of Education. But I guarantee you that purpose does not require the number of people that they have on there now. So streamline it. Work it like a business. Cut it back until it's as efficient as it can be. Now you know how much it costs to run that. You want to add something to that program? Figure out how to pay for it first. If people don't want to pay the taxes for that extra program, it's not going to happen. You need to be able to cut things back and make it work. And you go department by department through the government and figure out where it is. What is that number? And then when it gets there, we say, okay, it's going to take a 32% tax rate to pay for this. Everybody pays 32%. Everybody. Want to fix it again? Remove all the loopholes, all the tax credits, all the subsidies. Make them all go away. Because every subsidy, every tax break over on this side is being paid for by someone over here. You can't give out money or take less money from one side without having to pay it on the other side. It's got a balance. So, oil companies who over the next 10 years are going to get $45 billion in tax subsidies. Companies who are getting tax benefits for offshore workers or whatever the reason. Folks who are like the uber rich who will tell you they pay the highest tax rate, but effectively pay lower than everybody else because of all the hedges and everything. They all need to pay the same amount. No more of these loopholes. Just get rid of them. And that way the country can pay for what it needs to pay for. So you streamline the departments, you get rid of the subsidies. In the end, what will happen is there'll be more money available. Fairly quickly, you'll develop a surplus. There's the other point we need to consider. Is a deficit always bad? Well, the fact of the matter is, no. What you're doing with a deficit is you're borrowing against yourself. Now, if that deficit is never decreasing, that's bad. But let's face it, war breaks out, you're probably going to have to do some deficit spending because you weren't prepared right that second for the war. You're going to have to spend a little bit to get cranked up. Disasters, natural disasters, same thing. There's not a slush fund sitting around for Katrina. We had to find that money. Puts you in a deficit. But you recover. What we need to do is be ready to pay for what we want. It's not about being taxed. It's about, are we getting our money's worth for those taxes? I can tell you that I don't believe we are. I don't think we're getting anywhere close to what we should be getting for the money we're paying. And that's what needs to get fixed first and foremost. Because if all you do is reduce taxes, you lose services. Do we really have that many services we can afford to lose? I don't think so. So, get rid of the subsidies, streamline the departments, and make everybody pay their share. That is how we fix the tax problem. We'll be right back.